I put a lot of time into building my home office last year, and after it was complete, my bedroom felt neglected. So right before the new year, I decided it was time to remodel it. I wanted the space to have a modern look, have a desk set up to use when I don't want to leave my bedroom, be full of smart lighting I can easily turn on and off with Alexa, and feel nice and cozy so I can get better sleep. While I don't consider myself a minimalist, I wanted to make sure it didn't get too cluttered so I would still have enough space to train some calisthenics when I'm feeling it. While this is a small room, I still needed to squeeze in a king-size bed and my 75-inch TV so I can fully enjoy my free time. The space is 218 square feet with a bathroom and a closet. This layout is the only way I can have space on either side of the king-size bed while having a 75-inch TV centered directly in front of it. This is what my bedroom looked like at the start of the remodeling. Normal white walls with nothing on them. For my bed, I was using 2 twin mattresses stacked on top of 2 twin box springs side by side with no bed frame. I still have the same desk with Govee LED lights underneath it, side tables beside my bed, and dresser with a bunch of stuff on top of it. The 75-inch TV was stacked on top of 2 shelves because I was unable to mount it to the wall. I had to create a custom backboard in order to mount it, which I'll be showing later in the video. I got my gigantic fan I sleep with and an AC unit because I'm a super hot sleeper. And finally, right next to this random pack of hot sauce, we have a hole in the wall that I'm going to be repairing. First thing to do is move everything into the middle of the room so I can do the wall repair, taping, and painting with no interference. After everything was in the middle of the room, I started repairing the hole. First, I drew a square around the hole to mark the part of the drywall I would cut out. Then I cut it out, which was a bit harder than I thought it would be. I'm using this piece of wood to provide support for the drywall square I'll be installing, so I needed to mark where I'll cut it, so I'll have 2 pieces. I used this piece of paper to trace the shape so I can cut out a piece of the new drywall that will fit inside. After cutting it out, it still wouldn't fit, so I did some slight modifications until it fit. Next, I inserted the wood supports into the wall and secured it with screws. My drill died when I was on the last 2 screws, so while the battery was charging, I decided to start removing the outlets and taping. Taping was my least favorite part of this whole process. After my drill battery was recharged, I covered the repaired hole with mud. Then, since the mud was already out, I decided to fill in all the other small holes here and there. There were a lot. While they were drying, I continued taping, and after a few hours, it was finally complete. The next morning, I sanded down all of the dried mud on the walls and the big hole, and spent some time vacuuming up all the particles that were sanded off. The most sanding was done on the big hole, so I left a gap in the tape and filled it in after I vacuumed. For the paint, I wanted to have 2 colors, a brown and a gray. The brown I went with was called Toffee Crunch, and the gray I went with was called Elephant Skin. The wall with the TV would be brown, and the other 3 walls would be gray. Painting was my favorite part of this process, and eventually I got some help from my brother. After the painting was complete, the whole vibe of my room had changed. Now it's time to create the custom backboard for the TV. The reason I couldn't mount the TV before was because the TV is almost the exact same width as the wall, and the studs aren't centered on the wall, so I was unable to position the mount in the center, and I couldn't just secure the mount to the drywall. So my idea was to get some 2x6s and mount those on the outside of the wall into the off-centered studs, and then mount a thick sheet of plywood onto the 2x6s, and finally secure the TV mount through the backboard and through the 2x6s. I got the plywood and the 2x6s cut at Home Depot and painted them the brown Toffee Crunch color so it would blend in with the wall and look like it was extended out. It would have been impossible to do this without the help of my brother and my dad, so thank you guys. The process of getting the backboard up on the wall was very tedious because we had to make sure it was leveled and it was really heavy. Once the backboard was secured to the wall, I had to center the TV mount on the backboard. Then, once the TV was set up, I mounted the soundbar and drilled a hole for the soundbar's cables to route through. I also drilled a hole for the TV cables to go through. Next, I turned my attention to my desk setup, and I was most excited about the keyboard. I ordered the glorious GMMK Pro for my setup with a brass plate. The kit comes separated, so I had to assemble it. First, I had to take apart the keyboard to install the brass plate. This was my first time doing this, so I was a bit confused and learned that I had to use the tiny screws that came with the brass plate instead of using the original ones that it came with. Then I had to install the glorious Lynx linear switches, which are lubed. And finally, I installed the keycaps. And now for a type test. After doing all the cable management, here's the result. On the desk, I have the Govee Aura lamp, some speakers I got off Amazon, the MX Master 3 mouse, a Vivo monitor mount plus laptop stand holding up a Dell 4K monitor, and my M1 Max MacBook Pro. For my desk chair, I picked up this affordable one on Amazon. While the room was looking better at this point, the walls were bare and very echoey, so it was time to start putting things on the wall. To sound treat and improve the aesthetics, I ordered some 3D art panels and some sound panels. This was the first way I put up the sound panels. It looked alright. After I did that, I set up the 3D art panels. These 3D art panels are super popular, and I wanted to do something more interesting that I haven't seen before, so I added these sound panels as like a frame for the 3D art panels, and I think it came out looking great. Sound panels are over here, and there's a good amount of them, so it should be absorbing a lot of that echo, as well as over there. Now I'm really annoyed, not really, but I'm kind of annoyed about those because I was slightly off leveled. And it's just a little bit closer on this side than it is on that side, and it slants down a little bit. But it's okay. It's not really okay. But if I take them off, I'm gonna damage the wall, so I'm just gonna have to deal with it. I hate that. I need it to be perfect. I might redo it. No, I won't redo it. It's fine. It's fine. It looks good. It looks okay. Okay, bye. As you probably already figured out, I did end up changing it with very minimal wall damage. Now let me take you on a room tour of the final product. As you walk into the room and look to the right, you'll see a beautiful plant that adds a hint of nature and contributes to the hints of brown in the room. I added a Govee spotlight to light the plant from underneath and cast some nice shadows. The plant leans against this wall, which has 2 mirrors. These were the only 2 mirrors I had, and I liked the combination of black and white frames. There are 2 pictures of nature on this wall as well, and underneath them are 2 sound panels, which contribute to the aesthetic. Moving on to the bed area, we have the same side tables, but 2 Govee lamps were added to provide symmetry and indirect lighting to the space. I moved the hexagon sound panels to surround a beautiful picture I got as a gift for Christmas. And then my favorite addition was the Govee neon rope I added as a frame to the hexagon sound panels. I added cable management to both sides to keep the symmetry perfect, even though the cable only comes out of the left side. And lastly, I replaced my 2 twin mattresses and box springs with 1 king-size mattress and bed frame I got off of Amazon. The sheets, blanket, and pillowcase were also bought off of Amazon. Perfectly centered across from the bed is my wall-mounted 75-inch TV and soundbar. I added a Govee LED light strip on the back of the backboard to provide indirect lighting, which made it look 10 times cooler. All of the electronics were moved to being plugged in directly behind the TV into a power strip that routes through painted cable management. The power strip plugs into the outlet and completely covers it. On the walls to the left and right of the closet, I added some more sound panels. I store my guitar here, and then over to the right, I have my climate control area. I'm very picky about the temperature of the room, so I have my gigantic fan and AC unit still, a space heater just in case it gets too cold, as well as a diffuser when I want to make my room smell better. Above my dresser, I put together what I consider a work of art. I have all the trophies from when I was a kid to remind myself of the good times doing gymnastics and playing soccer. I have this really cool fountain that I got as a gift and makes a very soothing, constant sound when I'm working. Above it, I hung the light I had before against a single hexagon sound panel on the wall to create this interesting spiral extruding from the wall. And above all of that, I have a painting painted by a good family friend from New Orleans, a place with lots of my family's history. And finally, my desk setup. I've already been spending a lot of time here editing this video, and I absolutely love it. This is my first time using a single 27-inch 4K monitor, and it's more than enough. The keyboard has been a joy to type on, and the speakers are really good considering their price. The overall aesthetic of this bedroom setup was exactly what I was going for. Clean, minimal, and modern. So all of the lighting in the room, except for the spiral lamp, can be controlled by Alexa and synced through the Govee app. The fan and the fountain can also be turned on and off with Alexa by using Govee's smart plugs. Alexa, fountain on.
Okay.
It's a windmill on.
Okay.
It's a windmill off.
Okay.
And I almost forgot to show this, but here's a satisfying before and after of the hole I repaired. Overall, I'm really happy with the final product of this room, and I hope I've provided you with some inspiration for your own bedroom and desk setup. See ya!